On July the 26th, 2024, an end of a 9-year cycle in your life where you felt a sense of woundedness is coming into a pivotal turning point, because on July the 26th, we are experiencing a retrograde station of Chiron, the wounded healer, who will be trundling backwards all the way through till the 29th of December. And what makes this so special about an area in the collective and in our individual lives that has been wounded in the Aries part of our sky since 2018 April is that this turning point closes out a chapter of difficulty, of deep healing and learning, of ways in which we're discovering our unique gifts and talents through the challenges and struggles that we have engaged in, and how we're healing as well the wound of purpose and belonging. Each of us in our lives has been dealing with this kind of story in the Aries whole sign part of our natal sky since the spring of 2018. And 9 years later, we'll completely finish up in the spring of 27. But this year is the most important, because this year is where the eclipse of April the 8th, 2024 was completely co-joined with Chiron. Eclipses are doorways, they're portals, they are absolutely huge energies for change that is destined. This kind of energy is still playing out for another year or more through to the spring of 2025. And I can say this is not any old Chiron retrograde, because when he stations to turn direct, are you listening? When he stations to turn direct on the 29th of December, he stations at 19 degrees, the exact degree of that eclipse of April the 8th, the total solar eclipse that went X marks the spot through Texas and the United States, crisscrossing with the Libra eclipse in the fall of 2023, the great X in Texas, USA. But in our own lives, that eclipse also from April completely tells a story of a huge once-in-a-lifetime shift. So I want you to know this. This is not any old retrograde. This is something special. This is Chiron in the place of war, Aries. Chiron in the place of pioneering, Aries. Independence, Aries. Risk and daring, Aries. It's a chironic wound in an archetypal place that belongs to Mars, the god of war, the god of action heroes, the god of firefighters and rescue heroes, and the god also of people who are soldiers, but also people who can cause harm through things like assassination and killing. And we just saw an assassination happen. Before we get to the all signs, let me just remind you of what I've said in many videos so far, even predicting the Donald Trump assassination attempt within, I called it actually, I said within a week or two before the 15th of July. It's because in 1968, Chiron entered into the sign of Aries, the beginning of his 9-year stay there. But at the same time in 1968, we had an eclipse happening in the spring of 1968, March 25th. It was an Aries eclipse. And Chiron was just getting ready to slide in right after that eclipse into Aries. And the archetypal energy of Chiron, war, Aries eclipse, North Node eclipse, happened then. And in 1968, the incumbent president of the United States, Lyndon Baines Johnson, decided to step away from his incumbency to run for a second term because he was having bad ratings in the war, for the Vietnam War, and because he had a heart condition. And, Joe Biden's ratings have plummeted because of the Gaza war for young people between 18 and 30 or so, as well as the Muslim vote in swing states. Plus, he's got a health challenge, not just COVID, as we all know. And therefore, this is a rinse and repeat cycle. And I said in my video, for several videos, but probably for the Aries Ingress video for sure, that we will see a return of 1968. We will see, this is like a rinse repeat, as if we're an echo chamber from the past, to the point where I pointed out we'll have student protests and sit-ins at universities like we did in 1968 against the Vietnam War, and yet we had it again this time against the Gaza war, Israel-Gaza war. So ultimately, that's why I said Joe Biden will step step away from the presidency, and put that out there months ago, but repeated myself recently, and of course got trolled for that. And of course it was what happened. Does history perfectly repeat itself? No. Not at all. But a lot of these variables are exactly as they were then, even to the point that the eclipses are matching similar degrees. This is so much a story of a do-over. How are we going to do it over again? Because what happened then is the Democratic National Convention, for example, on the political front of the United States, had an open convention. And I believe that, and we had 2 assassinations, Martin Luther King in that same 1968 year, and Robert Kennedy Jr.'s dad, yeah. And because this is like, we almost had the assassination of Donald Trump, but he didn't get killed, we can say that it was close, but not exactly the same, right? Something is slightly different. So I want you to be aware that I'm not Republican, I'm not Democrat, I'm Canadian, and I don't vote in the United States. In Canada, I have never voted in my country ever. I am truly not a political beast, okay? But I am curious and interested in how the sky repeats themes over and over again, and how we can use that for predictive value and forecasting, not just for the world, about wars and about science and about AI and about politics, but in our own lives as well. Does that kind of astrology interest you, both mundane or world astrology plus personal all signs astrology? I do personal all signs astrology as well. Almost all of my videos, including today's Chiron video. Now, I'm recording this on July 23rd. Patreon community gets early access ad-free. You guys will get this a couple of days later. If you want to get stuff before the public, often quite a lot sooner than this, but I've been traveling with no ads. And check me out. It's not too expensive to join. It's only $5 a month for the lowest tier, and you can unsub anytime if you don't like it. Not a big deal. So one of the things I want to say about Chiron is an archetypal healer, in the sense that he was literally, the medicine man, so to speak. He mentored great healers like, and also heroes and healers, centaur, half man, half horse, very civilized, right? Very civilized, mentored Achilles and Hercules and all the great heroes and warriors of the ancient world. So he's all about noble warfare, and also the healers as well, like Asclepius. So he had the science of medicine and healing, but also when it comes to war, he was all about teaching noble warriorship. If you ever read the Achilles tales of his mentorship with Chiron in Greek mythology, there's so many lines about killing as an absolute last necessity, and that, you never kill an animal in the forest for just, sport, that kind of thing. I remember when I was in Africa with Credo Mutwa, the lineage holder for the Zulu people, as their medicine man back in 2004, learning from him for 2 weeks. We went to a sacred site and he wasn't allowed. He said, I can't go there, to this sacred tree that they considered like their Garden of Eden tree. And he said, I can't go with you, the group of us, because I have killed a lion in sport. And that puts me like tainted, unqualified to be with you on this part of the journey. And I think that that's a very Chironic archetype, that nobility around war and warriorship as well. So there's this vibe here. A portal has opened up. Chiron has opened up something with the eclipse of April the 8th that may invite humanity to move away from the kind of way war is waged, which is about the acquisition of power, wealth, greed. It has nothing to do with the defense of one's land. It has to do with hegemonic powers wishing to manipulate the war situation for land, for power, like oil rights, etc. Google Halliburton oil and the Afghanistan war and the pipeline, and also Afghanistan and Pakistan. Alrighty, nothing happens anymore in our modern world in war, at least since 1940s. Ostensibly, it could have been always there, but not noticed. That isn't about people in power making money, and that's not noble war. And Chiron is about noble warriorship at absolute necessity. And I would hope for the world we're going to see a massive beginning of something new as Chiron finally enters Aries in 2027, and we can change this for the collective. And there are things happening in our sky that are once every 250 years, such as the movement of Pluto through Aquarius, that give it a flavor that's very different from 1968. But let's go into this story again. Now, before we get going, I've taught a course called Chiron, the Key to Purpose. You can get that course for free if you're listening to this video. I'm giving you a code for that, and I'm going to call it Heal Now. capital HEALWNOW. I taught that class. It's for sale now for $22. Chiron, the key to purpose. So you can understand the role of Chiron in your chart and Chiron in general. And in the description box and pinned to the top of my comments, I will put a link to how to grab that course, digital download for free. Use code HEAL now. I'd rather you understand the importance of this and make $22. Okay, so check it out. So my feeling here, I really have hope in my heart. I'm an Aries sun and moon and Mercury, so I have a lot of Aries in me, and this is influencing me as well. You know, you have been healing something, each one of us, in an area where you felt wounded, existentially, physically, financially, emotionally. It depends on where Chiron is, because you have an Aries whole sign house. And that one area of your life, my marriage house, my career house, my body, my children, there's been a woundedness there that you've been experiencing in your world ever since 2018, April, as Chiron tiptoed for the first time in 50 years into Aries. And so what have you been dealing with in the Aries part of your sky that you must indeed find the gifts from the challenges, find the unique key to purpose and your original medicine for the world? That's what this eclipse was about, April the 8th. That's what this retrograde is about. It's digging its heels in. It's going backwards over old territory that has been in place since April the 8th to July 26th. And then Chiron says, let's go back and revise. Let's go back and renew. Let's go back and look at it a little deeper, so that when I go direct, says Chiron, on December 29th, I am now moving forward in a way that is brand new. Something is profoundly healed. Chiron says, I used the doorway of the portal of a total solar eclipse to effect this profound collective shift for humanity regarding war and conflict, murder and homicide, assassination, the dark sides of Aries, the dark side of war. But I'm also, says Chiron, going to help you in your life, because you, me, Lori, everyone else, have one chunk of real estate that looks like a pie slice. It's your whole sign house Aries part of your sky. Please use the whole sign house system. Oh, you don't know how to get your whole sign chart, you're just using Placidus? Then go in my description box below, and I have a tutorial when you scroll down past the more button for the free how and why to cast your chart in whole sign houses free video tutorial. You can go ahead and get access to that tutorial for free, and you'll know where your chart whole sign house is, houses 1 through 12. Also, you don't know the meanings of the houses, I explain it here. I have a free PDF, the free meanings of the 12 houses deep dive PDF. You can also download that digital download for free. It's in the bottom of my description box. Scroll down and you'll find it. The only thing I'm sharing for this month ahead are 3 things. My Sky Reader class starts in September. 6 weeks together with me live, replays, forever access to the content. Be your own astrologer, time your best life. Check the sign up link below to get on the early bird discount notice. Number 2, my All Signs 2024 videos, 90 minutes each, are on a less than half price sale in the month of July. My summer sale is on. Check it out below. It'll go through the month of August as well. And number 3, OMG Spooky2. You know, I have tried something called a Spooky2 Rife machine because the founder and the people supporting the founder sent me this machine. Because I'm not tech and I didn't have a non-Mac, I sent it to my healer sister, healingwithnancylynn.com. She turned around a health challenge using this machine by herself. And she used to be a nurse in a hospital, and she had a result on her blood work she has been unable to achieve for years, for 5 or 6 years, and she's been dealing with this blood work problem. And after using this Rife machine, she healed it. I also have experience with it. She did it with me when I was visiting her, but I didn't need to be there. Put a toenail clipping into the machine. It's using frequency. It's using quantum healing technology. I don't really understand it, but it works. And I will share with her at the end of this video what happened for us. And I'm getting a 6% discount code. I thought it was 6% discount code for you guys. If you want to get this Rife machine, try it out for yourself. Tip: better with a non-Mac. Otherwise, you have to worry about, some conversion programs. If you have a non-Mac, it's better. And you give it a try yourself. It's not that expensive for what it does. And if you're interested in more about that, at the end of this video, I talk about with my sister, and she's so shy, this, healingwithnancylynn.com, my biological younger sister who does my timestamps, nurse, in the hospital for 30 years, retired, then went into healing with nancylyn.com, Reiki. She talks about her response, and you can't make this shit up, guys, because she had a miraculous turnaround. I've also experienced the effects of it, and I'm still delighted with what I'm having happen. There's programs you can run for stopping addictions, adding nutrients to your body energetically, as opposed to having to swallow the pills, for getting rid of chronic illnesses, for working on arthritis, systemic problems, parasite cleanses. I know it sounds unreal. How can you do that? How can you do that? Right? It's modern medicine. It's energy medicine. It's what we're moving into with Pluto and Aquarius over the next 20 years. You're going to see a lot of breakthroughs in science, and you're going to see a lot of new things occurring for the world with how we create wellness and longevity and health in our lives beyond the obvious, beyond the old ways of doing it. End of story. Chiron is the god of healing. I told the founders that I would share this when I had some good healing content to put out, which is Chiron. So the interview with my sister is about 7 or 8 minutes long, and it explains what this stuff is about. It's attached to the end of this. And in the description box below, there's a 6% discount code for you guys. You click the link, it takes you through to my special exit page. I get no money. I am not getting money for this. Let me be clear. This is not a paid promotion. There's no money. They gave me the machine to try out. I'm sharing it with you. And I on my Scouts Honor, I'm not getting an affiliate fee or anything like that. So check it out, and let's get talking about Chiron. Let me show you the sky. Now, one thing I want to say about this is that Chiron moves in an elliptical orbit. He's a centaur body, and Chiron is therefore spends a longer time in different signs than others. Like, for instance, when he's going through Libra, he's there for a much shorter time than across the way Aries, which is 9 years on average. So he's been in the sign of Aries since April of 2018. Sure, he dipped out backwards, for a bit of time. And by 2019, he was in Aries completely all of the time, right? And here we have April of 2018, Chiron ingressing into the sign of Aries. Chiron exits in April of 2027. This is the window of time in my life, your life, and the world at large where we're healing a chironic wound that we can only heal on a regular rhythm. It last started up, it's the chironic orbit is 50 years, right? So with this energy going back to like 1968 at about 9 years, we're back in a cycle that we saw in the late 60s throughout the 70s. Of course, we had the Vietnam War as the main story back then, and it did come to an end during the window of time that Chiron entered into a war that was already ongoing, right? It preceded 1968. That's why we had sit-ins, and we had the monk who burned himself and all the horrible things to protest the Vietnam War, which was in many ways a police action. But we do know that if Chiron is going through, again, Aries, it will try as a centaur body to mitigate and heal war stories in our world. But this one is so powerful as well in a way that I think is particularly unique because of Pluto. Why? Because Pluto is now in this early part of Aquarius. Let us move ourselves forward. We will be doing the all signs. By the way, I'm recording on a day when the chatter was Joe Biden is like dead or in a coma. And I want to point something out about that. He just got sighted coming out of his car and is supposedly doing a national address to the world in a day or two. And that's probably going to be exactly what it is. I don't think he's got a mannequin or there's a dummy version of him. But I will say this, given his 4 or 5 charts I've looked at, including his zodiacal releasing, I anticipate that sometime in the next 12 months, if not sooner, Joe Biden may have a very, very critical health challenge. Already, I just want to plug that in there because it looks like he almost already is there, that he should already be in a coma based on his chart. And I will indicate that I do not expect that he is going to, be around for a long time. And there's reasons for that. But why am I bringing that up? Is because it is about that energy of what's going on in this eclipse and in the eclipses of last fall that are really, really portending difficult circumstances for that particular world leader beyond just stepping away from his nomination with the Democratic Party. I'll be doing videos on Kamala Harris, J.D. Vance, Donald Trump. Kamala has some very good things going on, but also some really difficult things going on. So we shall see in the astrology coming up in the election series what will happen. All right, so here we have, moving into our current time frame. Here we have Chiron at 20 degrees. It's April. Why am I in? Oh, yeah, because I was advancing the chart. So let's move us forward to the retrograde station, April. Yeah, here we go. So on July the 26th, we're going to see Chiron begin to go retrograde. And here's a few things I want to mention about it, because I looked at the exit point in December. I'll be doing a special video, and I really love the potency of the exit point on December 29th for positive outcomes for you, me, and the world. But here is the start of it. Chiron will be stationing retrograde at 23 degrees and 32 minutes exactly. And he's stationing on July the 26th. And that course is a meaning, because every time you look at a degree of stationary planetary motion, you want to ask yourself, what is, for example, the Sabian symbol? And the Sabian symbol is an open window and a curtain blowing into a cornucopia. So an open window and a something curtain, a net curtain blowing into a cornucopia. Well, open windows and cornucopias and curtains blowing is a very positive symbol. So I don't mind the Sabian symbol here, because we rounded up to 24 in Sabian land. And it has to do in a lot of Sabian symbols with the word leadership. And I like to use Elsie Wheeler, and her book, The Screen of Prophecy, is one of my favorite books. And she says along the lines of the Sabian symbol. Oh, I don't have it queued. Sorry, I apologize, but I remember it was all about leadership, I think. Let me just check the Sabian at 24 degrees. How did she interpret that Sabian symbol, Aries, 24 degrees? I forgot to hold my space there. Sorry about that. 24 degrees of Aries. By the way, thanks for your patience, guys. I had terrible jet lag, and I lost a day filming when the CrowdStrike thing knocked my internet out for a day. And I was really tired when I did a lot of my all signs videos. So I thank you for your concern about how tired I looked. I did look tired in those videos, and I made some mistakes because I was exhausted with jet lag and stuff getting back from Europe. So I appreciate your kindness. Aries 24, an open window and a net curtain blowing into a cornucopia. And she says, keywords are abundance, prosperity, bounty, generosity, good fortune, gifts, benevolence, philanthropy. All right, what's not to like when we hear the word cornucopia? So there's something about how we can move into an inner and outer richness and beneficence and munificence because of this Chironic emblematic 24-degree station. Direct. You'll notice he stations direct co-join the moon. The moon can represent our mind, our physical form, the animating force that keeps our body alive. So there's something about the lunar sphere, the material realm, the materia, not the spiritual sphere, but the lunar sphere, that also is being healed collectively and individually. And maybe also the feminine energy of the mother, the moon. But this is a fierce, independent warrior mama. This is a pioneering, daring, bold mama. This is the mother that runs into the fire to save the kid, or, lifts a car off a child, right? Aries mother energy. You know what I mean? Like heroic, unbelievable ways that women will save their children that doesn't defy the laws of gravity, etc. So this is that kind of energy, in my view, to see this Chiron Aries moon mother energy with the North Node expanding it. So there you go. Heroic women. Okay, heroic women coming into the story. How's that? I predicted the rise of women in world leadership positions already from the Aries Ingress chart. Mexico has a new female president. Women are rising up to power around the world. Kamala Harris rising to power. Now, here we have another thought. Chiron is also, as he is in this particular station direct motion, receiving rays from Pluto. Now, Pluto is retrograde. Pluto's kind of moving away from him, in the opposite direction this way. But that doesn't matter. It's still Pluto's presence is up here. Pluto is sort of breathing fumes up here. Chiron is over here. That did not exist in 1968, for example, through to add 9 years, right, to the mid 70s. That's a different story now. What is that about? What is this energy, this sextile flow of positive energy from Pluto as sort of like the turbocharging energy behind Chiron? Now, it's interesting because Chiron's kind of chasing him, right? Chiron's retrograding, moving this way, and Pluto's moving this way. But guess what happens? On December 29th, that's not true. Pluto will move this way. Yay, right? Pluto's moving around the sky in the correct direction. And Pluto will start moving toward Chiron as of October 11th. So October 11th, Pluto stations direct and starts moving out of Capricorn this direction. But then by November 11th, no, 19th, I believe, is moving towards Chiron. There's this weird window, November the 19th, as Pluto is now in direct motion within the sign of Aquarius, to December 29th, where Chiron is retrograde. And for that short time, November 19th, if I remember correctly, to December 29th, Pluto is moving toward Chiron, who's retrograding toward him, like a meeting of minds. That can look like a profound shift in the collective field, in the area of the world that represents war. And Pluto is about power, but also in Aquarius, about technology, AI, aliens, and UFOs, and celestial space events can be indicated. So many things. I am not sure, honestly, what that's going to look like. I have no idea. Pluto will be moving in Donald Trump's seventh house, for example, forward as of mid-November, in Trump's house of open enemies, or adversaries or opponents. At the same time, however, Chiron will be looking favorably upon Donald Trump's ascendant. And if Trump is still in the race, we'll see. For some reason, I've said quite often in the last year, I'm not sure I kept saying Biden or Trump will be on the ticket. Now, Trump was almost assassinated, and I think that almost split a timeline, right? The version where it's sort of like did anyone ever watch The Man in the High Castle? It's like, that's the story of what if America did not if the Western Allies didn't win World War II. And that's a whole other world in which both the Japanese and the Philip K. Dick wrote the book or the short story, and then the show is amazing. So the Japanese and the Germans own USA, minus the borderland in the middle where there's rogue rebellions. And honestly, there's a feeling to me of a timeline split, because Trump turning his head in the nick of time, you can't orchestrate that, you can't stage that. You can see the bullet slowing in slow-mo, just about to hit us here. If you're telling me a sharpshooter is so confident, okay, I don't mean the patsy guy on the roof. If you try to tell me a real sharpshooter is so confident that they could hit the ear and know that they wouldn't hit the head, that is astounding. All it takes is Trump could have sneezed and the sharpshooter would have killed him. So my sense of the situation is we may have split timelines, but Trump could still be in harm's way based on Uranus on his midheaven. This is world astrology. I will get to your sign. And so he's still not out of the woods yet. And if he does have a health challenge, Trump won't have a bullet hitting him. He'll be poisoned based on his lot of poisoning, where it sits in his chart. And there's a lot of violence and death in his first house. Lots are like they're ancient tools, and a lot of poison is pretty close to Neptune for drugs. So if something goes wrong with Trump's well-being before the election, I would probably say, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, he'll have a health problem, but it may not be a health problem. We all know that agencies know how to make people look like they're sick and then they pass away, but they're not sick and pass away. There's something that they've been helped along by, that was the word poison. And Trump has Shala, the stinger of the Scorpion star, close to his moon, which is poison. Also, so does Vladimir Putin have that same problem with his Mars on Shala, the stinger, poisonous tail of the Scorpion. Both people have capacity for being poisoned in this life. And I do believe Trump has been poisoned before in an attempt to harm him. So that's my story. I'm sticking with it. What else can I tell you about this Chiron retrograde station story? In a general principle, I really do not mind that Jupiter is here. Jupiter is direct at this point, but he's in what we call a nice little 10-degree orb, or even just a whole sign sextile to what's happening with Chiron in Aries, offering some auspicious energy. Something positive is trying to happen from Jupiter's perspective in the sign of Aries. On August the 14th, 15th, Jupiter will co-join with Mars, will squaring Saturn, and then Venus gets into the mix. That's during the Democratic National Convention. We'll be doing videos on that. But in the world, we haven't seen Jupiter and Mars co-join since 1989 in the sign of Aries. I'm going to do a free webinar on that. I'm going to do a deep dive video on that for your sign. So like and subscribe. You don't want to miss that not seen since 1989 energetic synodic cycle reset of a button that's being activated in your Gemini sky. You don't want to miss knowing how to use that. But I want to point out that this energy of Jupiter flowing to the Chiron station retrograde adds a fairy godfather, Santa Claus, good energy to what is trying to happen here, right? It's trying to happen here. And lastly, we have Venus, right? Here's good old Venus in Leo, acting like the queen diva, the one who's on her throne, the queen herself. That's, of course, right now, Kamala Harris is acting like the queen. And I said in a recent video, there will be something in the news cycle with Donald Trump on the 24th, announcing something of the month of now. I'm recording on July 23rd, but also that I said Biden would be making some announcements also this week around the 25th or so and 6th. And that's exactly, I think, what's going to happen when he addresses the nation. So astrology is very interestingly literal. Excuse me for all the descendant ascendant markers there. I didn't mean to have that. So we're going to go ahead. Hang on. We're going to go ahead and do all signs. I encourage you to listen for your sun sign when you want to think about career purpose. Your moon sign can be about your mindset, your home and safety, and sometimes your physical health, because the life force that animates the carcass of our body or the avatar character is lunar. The lunar sphere is the material realm. It's your soul, in a way, the moon. And you could say that your eternal spirit that is beyond this particular incarnation character, maybe your sun, and the avatar, the character itself. You know, when you're going to play a video game and you get to choose, you know, the features of your character. Well, I'm an Aquarius, so I'm like Spock. I used to love him in Star Trek. I'm very analytical, and I'm very sort of detached sometimes, right? I'm Spock-like, actually. The character can be Spock-like, but my sun's fire, which is like, holy man, am I hot? And I'm very defensive, and I'm very attack-oriented sometimes, and my moon's there as well. So understand these bits and pieces of your sky when you want to listen today. I would listen for your rising sign and your sun sign, most important, and your moon sign thirdly, but you can certainly listen for all three and see which feels true, and watch over time as you watch these videos, you know, particularly your rising sign versus your sun sign, and begin to note what feels more true. I tend to notice that my rising sign is a little less accurate, my sun a little bit more as I get older, because maybe I'm living more from more of my spiritual essence than I am from my character in the game of life. All right. All righty, let's get going. We're starting with Aries, and I'm recording. Yep. Okay, so we got about, just so you can time this, about 50 minutes maximum here together. So that's about how long it'll take me at the most, 40 minutes maybe, to get through this. And if you're in the live premiere and you haven't hit the like button yet, please do like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notification. Reminder, in the intro, I told you, you can get my Chiron video down below for free. I use code HEALNOW. Watch the end of this video where I'm squishing together live recording with my sister to learn more about Spooky2 as a testimonial. And in the description box, Spooky2, 6% off for all of my followers and listeners. And I'm not getting paid for this. It's just because I think the device works. You might want to investigate that for your own health challenges. No guarantees, guys. I mean, I'm just telling you what our experiences have been. You figure it out for yourself. Here we go. Okay. Let's start off. Aries, sun, moon, and rising sign. Well, the first thing I say, of course, is Chiron has been giving you this existential wound about your identity, your moon, your career, your moon, your home, your career, your sun, your career, your ascendant, everything about you, including your physical health. You've been wounded here since April of 2018, and you can close this wound out. In essence, you can close this wound out. Probably, thank you for the eclipse of April 8th. You can begin to really energetically shift this between July the 26th and December 29th. And that's the time that Chiron is retrograding over ground he traveled from that eclipse, right, of April the 8th at 19 degrees. So that energy to me says, well, it looks like you're pivoting or turning backwards a little bit to look at what ground you've covered since April the 8th and how you might, in this part of the sky that represents the essence of you, begin to really turn around and come forward again in December around this wound about identity. You know, Chiron felt like the outsider. He did not belong. He was this educated, erudite centaur that wore clothing. All of his other centaur buddies were like randy horses having sex or something. They were just uncivilized. And he didn't feel like he belonged to his people. His mother, He was a rape victim pregnancy and his mother gave him away. He felt like a mother wound. He felt like and that's a mother wound. We all have a mother wound, Mother Earth, because Chiron is healing the mother feminine wound as well as the war wound here. So where you've been feeling abandoned by the mother archetype, where you felt like you never belong and where you don't fit in, these are stories that Aries are trying to recover from since 2018. And this continues to spring of 2027, but this is your turning point time, not any old Chiron retrograde. I didn't mention exactly what I wanted to cover here, because when Chiron is moving through all of this retrogradation, he's doing a lot of amazing things, but more particularly between October the 12th all the way through, especially to November the 6th. Let me look at my dates I wrote down. Yeah, like October the 12th to around November the 6th, he's in a tight sextile to Jupiter. It's kind of most intense around October the 10th, but he's really just holding space with Jupiter as they travel 21 degrees, 21 degrees, 20 degrees, 20 degrees, 19 degrees, 19 degrees. So there is this ongoing sextile October 12th to around November the 6th. I'd even say, yeah, October the 10th to November the 6th. Okay. And this sextile is playing out in such a way that you're going to feel Jupiter's support. Jupiter retrogrades on October the 10th. So there's just this beautiful sky between Fairy Godfather meeting with Chiron in this flow energy between your third house and your first house. So some healing with opportunity regarding matters to do with writing, younger siblings, aunts, uncles, nieces, and cousins, traveling, learning, skills-based education of any kind, short distance travel of any kind, things to do with your neighbors and neighborhood. This spring, this fall, feeling into that energy. Let's say, I would say you're going to be feeling really, October the 10th through to November the 6th. It's pretty darn tight at that time. And in my view, because I'll be breaking down all the stuff Chiron does as he retrogrades. So for now, let's stay with the general theme. Don't forget, this is turning you inside out and upside down, because whatever has been bothering you since 2018, it's about to come to an end. By the time Chiron comes into direct motion, December 29th, and you're now into 2025, 26, those last 2 years are like the afterglow of some healing. And I know what someone's going to say. No, don't worry about the degree of your sun, moon, and rising. Okay, yes. If your sun, moon, and rising is at 23 degrees of of Aries, yes, you'll feel the station retrograde. Yes, you'll really feel more deeply engaged in this process. Or if your sun, moon, and rising is near 19 degrees when he stations direct, like my sun at 14, you'll feel more deeply engaged in the process. But all Aries will feel this process nonetheless. Let me take out the garbage here, okay? What garbage? Well, first of all, I'm taking out the stuff that doesn't need to be in the way. So it just makes it simpler. People ask me all the time, where's this or that in the chart? I just take it out because it's not important to what I'm demonstrating to you. I can take planets out. I have all the power of the sky. So all I want to leave in here is I want to leave Jupiter. Everyone else can go. I'm going to leave Jupiter. Goodbye, everybody. And Mars, of course, because he's the ruler of the story. But I'm going to leave Jupiter. I'm going to leave Chiron. I'll leave the moon because Chiron's conjunct. I guess I can leave Venus because she's doing some shit too in there. And let's get rolling. I want to just make the sky look simple. North Node, of course. That's where it's all happening. Let's simplify. Excuse me. I have to fix that. Hours, not days. Is anyone getting dizzy? I am. All right. I'm just trying to cue it back to Taurus. Bear with me. It doesn't matter if I'm on the 26th or the 27th, okay? It is happening on the 26th. I just need to get the rising sign. Taurus, sun, moon, and rising sign. So we have a Chiron conjunct the moon in your 12th house. This is something you've been dealing with. Addictions, self-undoing, self-sabotage, falling away from yourself, people who are your enemies that you didn't even know it, undermining you. Situations to do with your spiritual life, spiritual liberation, finding God, finding the way out of this matrix. You've been dealing with this energy since spring of 2018, completing in the spring of 2027. This is the most important time for you to heal this once and for all. Get my Chiron Key to Purpose free video I taught a class. You can get it for free. Use code HEAL NOW, all caps. I'm giving it to everybody who watches this video so you can use this to your best advantage. This chironic wound is being turned around because it was engaged in that eclipse, as I expressed. Look for this energy over the next few months until December the 29th to begin to give you those revelations and insights. Because every time we heal a chironic wound, we find unique gifts and talents that are here. We're here to share with the world. And this is your turn to express and feel and heal those gifts and talents because you've healed some wound in the Aries part of your chart, not your natal chironic wound or temporary wound. This is like, I think some of you are going to find God, find spiritual path. Some of you are going to learn how to make money from long distance revenue and online borderless income. Some of you are going to heal illnesses that come from your karmic past life content or family of origin, ancestral stuff. And certainly many of you can let go of emotional mother wounds or connections to addictive substances that you think nurture you, but of course destroy you. So addictions are turning around, bad habits and self-sabotage are turning around, and Jupiter wants to lend a hand. He's flowing from this part of your sky, and of course, so does Venus want to lend a hand. In essence, Jupiter, especially between the dates of October the 10th to November the 6th, he's going to be retrograding, stations retrograde October 10th, then until November 6th, he maintains a sextile to Chiron, who's also retrograde. This is indicating Fairy Godfather would help you resolve some problems with things you put in your mouth, because you put things into your mouth in the second house. Mars is baked into the station retrograde, cut and sever things you ingest, whether it's too much gluten, too much ice cream, too much weed, too much alcohol. Time for every Taurus to completely release that once and for all. Many of you already started doing that from the eclipses that have been going on in Aries since 2023 April, and now you're really digging in and turning this around. Also, because the second house is your financial wellness, your savings, your resources, your possessions, your assets, it is going to also blossom, because Jupiter is saying, well, as you heal this chironic 12th house wound, you will find prosperity and a plenty and abundance in your wellness financially as a result, somehow, some way. And that's Neville Goddard, right? You guys know that. And then Venus in the 4th house is said, beauty in the home, love in the home, friends in the home, kindness in the home, enjoyment in the home, pleasure in the home. That's what you're looking to create as a result of the July 26th to December 29th retrograde, and begin to see evidence of that in next year's story as we see the energy of Chiron direct in the sign of Aries. For you, it's a beautiful narrative. Venus is saying, get this stuff cleaned up and look at how much beauty and love you have in your home and home environment. And Jupiter says prosperity and abundance and plenty. And some of that abundance and plenty may come through family of origin monies, including inheritances, not because you cleaned up your act, but coincidental with it, only because this is your legacy wealth, and this is your earnings and possessions. And this Jupiter looks across at the money that you share with a spouse or a legacy wealth member, family member, giving you money, inheriting money from somebody in your family of origin may occur for some of you Taurians, not everybody. Remember, this is general bell curve astrology. Gemini, sun, moon, and rising. I can relate. I've got a progressed sun here. Progressions are secondary to your natal chart. I know you're going to ask me that. Your natal positions are more primary for everything. In your life, Gemini, you are going to experience something that was bothering you, something that felt out of kilter and wounded ever since 2000 and brain, come back online. 18, spring. And that has to do with social groups of friends. You may feel like you didn't belong, like you were the outsider. Now, my progressed sun in Gemini has been there for quite a while. And I was the queen of being the outsider because I didn't take a protocol that was unsafe and ineffective during the pandemic. And I was ostracized and outcast. And I also became single during that time. I was single and all my friends were married and I wasn't invited to any of the dinners and the engagements and all the fun things and travel plans that couples do with couples, and always leave the singleton out. So I felt like an outcast for sure amongst my friendship circles. I did. And I also lived alone in Montreal for 3 years and I felt like a lone wolf for 2.5 years. I didn't have friends there. How have you felt? Listen to me, guys, Sun, Moon, and Rising Gemini. How have you felt like an outcast among your social groups and social networks and friendship circles since ongoing, maybe in or starting at some point since March of 2018? You may also have felt wounded in the way in which your hopes and dreams did not realize as you anticipated, and wounded in the way in which money and earnings was available to you from your 10th house, that those career gains may have been challenging and there may have been some real glitches in the area of your life. You may have felt like, oh, I'm doing all this work and I'm not getting where I want to be. That's about to change. That's no longer true. With Jupiter, especially between October 10th and November 6th, retrograde and flowing in an ongoing sextile to Chiron, the beauty of that time, that longer window, is you're going to see Jupiter asking for luck, prosperity, plenty, magnanimous leader energy coming off of you. And Mars is making it commander in chief, bold, ambition, confidence. October the 10th to November 6th, as that sextile is sustained between Jupiter and Chiron. And I say that's probably social influence, social recognition, larger groups of belonging, being a movement maker, being able to reap gains in your career that are beyond your dreams and wishes, even surprising yourself. And that energy is going to turn you around December 29th, add 2 years, because I feel with that eclipse in April and embedded in the chironic wound, that you will be looking in the rearview mirror at the woundedness you've been feeling since 2018 here. And then we also can point to Venus's support as she says, love, beauty, kindness, friendship with neighbors and neighborhood environments, with writing projects that bring you great success, with things to do with social media acceptance, social media popularity, because popularity in blogs and news and social media is what Venus can offer here. And blessings regarding short distance travel and teaching and learning skills. Those areas of your life become super attractive because when the beginning of this retrograde starts, Venus is chiming in. So she's an influence baking into the theme for the entirety of the meaning of why this is a retrograde. It's not a one-off story. It's what is in play, what is being investigated, what is being healed, all the way through to December 29th, so that as the station direct of Chiron happens, you can move forward with great confidence. General bell curve astrology means this is for most people most of the time. Your chart is unique. You'll have to see an astrologer. I can't give you perfect readings here on general astrology, but I can give you the gist. Okay, now this is another story here for you guys. You Cancer risings have had a lot of intensity. You're under the eclipse squares, and also that Cancer new moon was very powerful for you. Now we're going to add some spice to the mix. This is about that purpose and career wound that has been noticed by you, perhaps as early as the spring of 2018. You're kind of like that old Dr. Seuss book. Are you my mother? Are you my mother? Are you my mother? But your question is, are you my purpose? Are you my purpose? Are you my purpose? And in this case, your purpose in your career. And you're literally looking for the answer to what it is that's meaningful, that uses your unique gifts and talents. Check out my free Chiron. Heal Now is the code in my description box. I'm giving you that course for free. I taught it already. It's $22 on resale, so you can understand this energy of Chiron more deeply. But Chiron here is a sort of wounded career purpose reputation. Some of you may have had slams to your reputation as a Cancer rising, as well, the wounded reputation, the wounded career, the wounded purpose and meaning ever since 2018. At some point that might have set in. However, as Chiron is getting ready here to finish up a story that he ignited with the April 8th eclipse at 19 Aries. He's retrograding July 26th to December 29th to finish the job. Let's go back and dig in. Let's look at the story of where this wound really has been activated, mostly since the eclipse, but ever since 2018, so you can get it done already. Moon up here with Chiron is really about how you wish to do something that is popular or appealing to people, or people would find popular, being a populist, and having people want the thing you're doing, basically. But also moon means other things as well. You might be looking at, finding a purpose that's nurturing and satisfying, but also independent and pioneering as well. And of course, the node of destiny says it's destined. That's where the eclipses are. And Chiron is engaging Jupiter. Jupiter goes retrograde and starts moving in Chiron's direction. Even though Chiron's moving away from him, October the 10th to November 6th. That's a lovely window of time. And I want to point to the Jupiter influence baking in as well. The way you succeed, Cancer, in healing this Chironic purpose and reputation energetic is you look deep within your soul, because that 12th house isn't this world. It's like my dreams at night, my meditations, my hypnosis sessions, my what is that stuff? The yoga nidra sessions. You're really going beyond the mind, beyond this world, in order to get some bounty here to support this career. So I encourage you to do soul work in support of this over the next few months, but particularly October 10th and November 6th. You can also experience some increase in gains from far off foreign shores and countries, especially borderless income and revenue. For those of you who are digital entrepreneurs or work on Zoom and stuff, increase in your finances that way. If you need to let go of an addiction or self-undoing, you're going to learn, you're going to guide or teacher or mentor to help you do that. And that could also help boost that career purpose healing direction. With Venus baking into the retrograde energy of support from your second house of earnings and financial wellness and money and resources, and also what you put in your mouth. We've got a couple of things going. For sure, many of you can heal a woundedness around food style, addictive substances, a wound around your facial appearance and afraid to show up in the high of the sky because you don't like the way you look. But you can also heal just money wounds in general, and your resources financially look like for a lot of you are having a shift as you become more popular and visible in whatever you're doing in your career, and you are able to increase, especially December 29th onward, as Chiron stations direct at 19 degrees, your success in the world. Don't forget, you're kind of, wherever the moon goes, Cancer rising, you pay attention, that moon is at the top of the sky, but it's pressuring you to find emotional satisfaction in true purpose, not just success financially. And that's the focus for you guys. This is what you need to lean into. Is it nurturing you emotionally? Are you feeling joyful and happy in the work? If not, it won't be the right thing. And I think that's what this is pointing towards, that clarity emerging July 26th to December 29th. Let's keep on to the Leo sun, moon, and rising. All right, Leo, this is energetically telling me that you are going to be able to heal a wound that you felt since 2018. Don't forget, get my Chiron free course Heal Now code in my description box. You're going to heal something that has been bothering you about the meaning of your life. I mean, the ninth house is your dharma, it's God, it's spiritual truth, spiritual philosophy and wisdom. For some of you, it's higher education or visas in foreign lands. For some of you, it's court and legal matters. All of those can be wound city since 2018 April. And now we're looking at that eclipse that turned it around April of 2024. And now this retrograde diving back into the wound to turn it off and over and quit it forever. I can't tell you which of those ninth house meanings is for you, but one of them will be. If you're in a third marriage, your third marriage is the ninth house, your second marriage is the second house, that's kind of stuff, maybe a wounded third marriage. I would say for the most part here, Chiron in the ninth house looks like therapists, mentors, guides, coaches, right? So you may also be engaging in that kind of support structure July 26th through to December 29th, including learning from somebody who has wisdom and knowledge that you appreciate, especially because Jupiter, wisdom and knowledge, is sextiling it during the retrograde, but also October 10th to November 6th, as Jupiter retrogrades, teachers from your past come back to you, and ways that you gain money from your career from the past may return. But ultimately, by the time you get to December 29th and move out of this chironic healing from the portal of the eclipse, you're probably looking at situations to do with greater financial bounty and a shift to the types of friends you have. So financial bounty from work increases and the types of friends you have change, because now you're opening up to true friends, wise friends, good friends, powerful friends, generous friends, and help from your elder sibling. This is the top of the sky, elder sibling, one above you. And you are Venusian as this bakes in. You're actually feeling pretty good about yourself, pretty in your like diva chair throne as this retrograde happens. And you may be looking at it very auspiciously, like this flows to the Venus in the sign of Leo for you, Leo, sun, moon, and rising. And you're like, I'm down to work with this change. I want to feel good about myself. I want to love myself. I want to like myself. And I want to present the love and like of myself in the real world when it comes to the way in which I hang with the friends, the gain the money from my career in a deeply dharmic and meaningful way. Virgo, sun, moon, and rising sign, we have this chironic wound that you felt in the 8th house of shame, betrayal, lack of self-esteem. Well, when the self-esteem of others is not evident to you, inheritance monies, secrets, chunky money, credit cards, debts, mortgages, shared money with a spouse or spouse type partner. That has felt like that's been nagging at you since 2018. I have a Virgo person I know who didn't feel like she had a fair share of, the money between her and her partner and how they were resourcing it together. And that's been shifting. Another person I know squandered an inheritance and felt ashamed and bad about that. So people who've gone through this as Virgo risings know the feeling of this part of it. Or I know a Virgo married woman who feels like she's beholden to her husband's money and doesn't feel independent of it. Those stories continue to show up for Virgos. This kind of money has been complicated since 2018. Or you have shame about sexual secrets or things you've done, guilt, shame, betrayal, abandonment. All those darker primal wounds are in the 8th house as well. It's a very karmatic house as well. So this is things, you're in a karmatic cycle with Chiron. Karmatic wounds have been hitting you since 2018. But as we move away from that time frame and we move towards now and we're into the now, that eclipse is trying to turn that off and shift that forever from April. And Chiron, July 26th to the 29th, retrograde, begins to undo the wound for good, in my humble opinion. Chiron is going to get support from Jupiter. Some of the, like you being at the top of the sky, either respected or wise or abundant and prosperous or liked by the boss in a career and reputation setting, with Venus as well, saying, and I support this healing here from the 12th house of addiction, self-undoing, bad habits. You're going to let go of structures of ways of being, karmatic knots and wounds, vows of chastity, poverty, addictions, things that get in your way, so that she can support you here to heal this wound and lift you to the top of the sky. A lot of you will end this cycle, coming into 2025 and go, I feel really good about my shared resources, money, debts, credit card debts, abandonment, shame, wounds, and I'm rising to a success story at the top of my sky in my reputation and career. The support from Venus here is like, where are your pleasures no longer satisfying you? How could you heal in your alone and downtime, finding pleasures that are actually sourced in joy and not temporary satisfaction or addiction? Chiron can heal that forever if you've been struggling with any of those themes. And we move into the next sign, which is and Libra, sun, moon, and rising. July 26th to December 29th. Yes, Chiron retrogrades and retrogrades in a place of a wound that you've been feeling since 2018. And that 2018 April wound has been a part of your marriage house, significant long-term committed love stories, or just significant people in your life. Mostly they're about the ones that matter as if you were married, but also business partners, sometimes clients, audience, marketplace. And this wound, business partnerships as well, has been in your face a bit, right? I know some really amazing Libra stories from my Libra clients of what they've gone through in their marriages, in their online, in their significant long-term love stories, in their business partnerships, maybe to their reputation if it's with a client. And this energy is no longer going to happen as we get through this end of this retrograde into 2025. It's going to look like it's ancient history. The flow to Jupiter, especially October 10th to November 6th, when Chiron Jupiter continually hook up in a sextile. Jupiter wants you to move into great success when it comes to the following areas: third marriages, book publishing, legal court matters, higher academic educational settings, and the deepest meaning of your life. Finding that deep true north meaning and where you want to shine in the sky. Technically, Jupiter can mean spiritual community, finding a spiritual path, a spiritual faith, finding a coach, guide, or mentor of great spiritual significance that can pull you through. Venus says, oh, look at me. I put my hand up. I support this transformation of the wound of relationship with others. I do that by coming to you directly from the house of groups of belonging. Some of you join groups of belonging. Some of you join a club of some sort. Some of you join a community of some sort. You find your place of fitting in a social group that aligns with what the chironic wound wishes to heal. And Venus may support you here to have greater gains in your career as well, just as a side result of being in the 11th house. All said and done, a benefic like Venus in the 11th house can be exceptional if you're seeking celebrity, and there may be some kind of recognition that you're achieving with the audience and marketplace, but it has to come through the wisdom of the ninth: book publishing, podcasting, standing on a pulpit and preaching. Take your pick. Scorpio, you guys are experiencing a Chiron retrograde July 26th to December 29th. It is happening at the same degree that's turnaround in December, where that eclipse activated Chiron on April the 8th. That portal has been open since then. Now, Chiron is also connected to 2018, when this chironic wound began to emerge in the house of work. Many Scorpios engaged in modes of work and career success that were not fitting who they are. You may have felt like the outsider in your colleague, coworker space. You might have been the boss with employees you didn't like. You might have been in a work job situation that just didn't feel like you were using your true key to purpose, talents, and gifts. And it's been nagging at you since 2018. If it's not that, you've been physically challenged with illnesses because Chiron is in the house of sickness. And this is about to turn around. You may have also had challenges and wounds regarding pets and tenancy and rental situations, as well as debt accumulation financially and needing to deal with that also. These are sixth house stories. Ultimately, because the sixth house connects to the service we do to pay off karma, this is an end of a karmatic cycle, and it's shifting for you. It will get better. There's an ongoing story here where October 10th to November 6th, you're going to feel this sextile between Jupiter and Chiron. That is about your chunky money, supporting the end of debt. This is about work situations improving because of financial matters that have to do with resources that come in chunks. What is chunky money? I have to say it always on. Insurance payouts, inheritances, severance packages, sign-on bonuses, insurance payouts, residual passive income, investments that take off in the markets. Those are kinds of eighth house money that's not your daily earnings and not just your savings account. And that is where the bounty is coming from. Mars is also saying, I'm bringing the attention to this house. That's his, Chiron's shifting in his house, and he brings it to the money house. Now, energetically, Venus is up at the top of the sky, and she wants to participate, bringing Artha houses 10 and 6 into action. So the healing of this wound in the workhouse leads to financial betterment, but also to enjoyment of your career. I'm having fun. I'm having pleasure. I'm having play in my career. If you haven't been liking what you've been doing in purpose and career matters, and if your financial matters have been belaboring you, these things are trying to turn around. Of course, this is a general reading. Everyone's life will be a little bit different. It's a general theme for Scorpio, Sun, Moon, and Rising. My Heal Now code is available to get my Chiron Key to Purpose course just for free, so you can understand Chiron more deeply as this once in a lifetime shift is happening in your sky. Just look in my description box or pinned to the comments for how to access that for nothing, because I don't think astrology should be paid for all the time. I think it's a tool for wisdom. Why not? I might share it with the world. All righty, let's keep going. I didn't think this was going to be too long. I'm glad it's not. I've got a foot massage scheduled today on my jet lag recovery story. Let's move into the Sagittarius Sun, Moon, and Rising. Don't forget, Chiron has been wounding you since 2018 in sexuality, love, and romance. Where have you felt really off kilter there? Also, maybe wounds with your children, or wounds getting pregnant, or wounds with your creativity, or wounds with your procreativity, creativity, inspiration, fun, play, joy. Having no fun since 2018, Sag. Maybe some wounds around entrepreneurial endeavors. Now, this is about to change, I think. July 26th to December 29th, Chiron retrogrades and returns to that eclipse degree in end of December, activating that portal that was conjunct Chiron on the eclipse of April the 8th. The door opened for healing, and that door is still active. And this is a turning point in my view. And I would say that if you engage the idea of Jupiter in the marriage and contracts and legal agreements house, some of the sexual and romance stuff has to do with one-on-one committed love. With Mars here, I will say and Jupiter, some of you Sagittarius need a blessed ending in a difficult love relationship for you to heal. But some of you, if you're single already, then this can bring in a powerful, dynamic, passionate, sexually charged, brand new love story after the healing is accomplished, most likely. So let that July 26th to December 29th thing unfold, and then move forward into 2025 with the potential end of a relationship or beginning of a new one that heals this joy, enjoyment, fun, play, pleasure, and sexuality energy, or the relationship with children or procreativity. Venus is up at the top of the sky in the house of grandchildren, and maybe you had a wound with your children. Maybe the healing is a new relationship with a grandchild, just for some of you Sagittariuses. But also Venus is like, oh, let's get down with foreign travel, foreign lands, visas, passports, and the meaning of my life. And less like the only way I can think about this for you, you're looking for that mother wound to heal in order to get into right relationship with long-term love and sexuality. Mother wounds for almost all you Sagittarius are underneath the story here. Chiron was conjunct the moon. We just moved the moon too quickly. Venus in the ninth house is like feminine spirituality, feminine wisdom, feminine knowledge. How do you lean into that? Or feminine guides, counselors, coaches, and mentors that really support you. Or some of you may publish a book out of this. The House of Creativity wound is healed by a successfully published book and a legal contract that gets the money in the door. That's happening for you, and maybe for some of you in the weeks ahead. All right, weeks ahead. December 29th, the healing onward. All right, Heal Now is the code, all caps, to get my Chiron Key to Purpose course for free. Look in my description box and pin to the timestamps. And we move into the next sign. Hey, Capricorn, Sun, Moon, and Rising sign. How wonderful to see that wound of not belonging in a true home is finally being healed. Are you my home? Are you my home? Since 2018, you don't know where you belong. And especially 2019 when it really dug in. So you kind of have this, let's say nomadic. You may have stayed in one place, you may have moved, but you don't feel like you fit wherever you go. You haven't found your true resting place, that kind of feeling. Chiron was embedded in the April 8th eclipse, and that is the door to healing this. His retrograde July 26th to December 29th takes him over the ground that he traveled since April. And whatever that ground has been about, as he retrogrades, he digs in deeper. So you can turn the story and this belonging to a home story around for good. And I feel it's deeper than I need to find my home, because the fourth house is your childhood. And with the moon conjunct, it's the childhood mother wound or matrilineal line and the wound of that lineage that you're also deeply healing as we look at that July 26th to December 29th retrograde and the turnaround point into the next year. Jupiter, especially between October, he's retrograde, October the 10th through to November 6th, maintains a sextile to Chiron. And therefore, some of the belonging wound is healed through a karmic debt releasement, through stories to do with pets. I love my home because I love my pet, to do with rental property agreements that allow you to find your true home, to do with work and job opportunities that maybe plant you in a Rahu foreign place where you are now moving to because of some work. And that workplace will feel like more like a home. You know, Jupiter with Mars is ending and severing as well. Debts that you have for real or karmically, but as well, maybe ending situations of work that aren't right for you if you're already in a work environment and a job environment. Venus wants to support you as this Chiron healing happens regarding that money that you didn't make directly. Could be inheritances, it could be your 401k investment structures, it could be money that you get from sharing money with a significant other in your life, a partner, a marriage partner. And that's offering some significant flow to the idea of finding one's belonging home, and also maybe eliminating debt. But this can also be finding a new job and having a chunk of money come, sign-on bonuses and stuff. But a lot of this energy also from the 8th house is deeply spiritual moksha, liberation. And this is a 4th house of liberation spiritually. You're also turning a spiritual corner here. And a lot of that with Jupiter in the 6th house can indicate guru energy. I don't think this is a guru per se, because it's 6th house energy, but you know, maybe there's some kind of karmic inner guru knowing factor that shifts you on a spiritual trajectory where it doesn't matter where you live, wherever you go, there you are, John Kabat-Zinn. You feel at home in your own beingness. And no matter where you go, you are okay with yourself and where you are. Alrighty, Aquarius, sun, moon, and rising. Yes, I'm one of you. I have a rising here. Let's talk. Well, I have not written a darn thing since 2018, and I think is worthwhile. Really, since 2019, that's when things got tough. This is a writing, communicating house. And so maybe some of us Aquarians have felt, I can't write anymore. My writing muse is turned off. My social media land is a bit wounded. I'm wounded around sibling relationships. I've been wounded since 2018 around travel and short distance travel. Talk about the pandemic, right? For some of us who took an unsafe, unnecessary protocol, lots of wounds around travel. Ultimately, even wounds around neighbors and neighborhood, like where do I belong? You know, like this isn't my groove. And I can speak to that. Living in a Montreal, living in a high-rise couple places in Vancouver, I don't really feel like I belong to the hood. I want to be in a country with some grass and a tree and an apple tree, really. And so there's a feeling of not being rooted in your own grounded hood neighborhood. Ultimately, and your daily everyday life doesn't feel like the thing you wish. Sorry about the binging sounds. And okay, the wound has been there. This is trying to heal, right? This is time for healing. I like it. Chiron flows to the Aquarian people. We don't mind it. Jupiter says joy, fun, play, pleasure, creativity, entrepreneurship. I'm going to use me as an example. I've got an agent who reached out to me to do a proposal for like a best-selling type astrology book, and she's agented in bestsellers. I love it. It just happened. And this is literally, I'll heal the writing wound by writing something meaningful that I really care about, that is passionate for me, that connects to bounty and opportunity in the house of the muse, right? Excitement here. So where can you be inspired by the muse, filled with spirit, enthusiastic, and full of joy, because you have found Jupiter in the house of his joy supporting this, something truly joyful, not just temporarily pleasurable, but joyful in a communications, writing, teaching house. That includes teaching, right? I teach classes in astrology. So there's that quiet call to move it, like Jupiter's retrograde between October 10th and November 6th in an ongoing sextile. And that's where you're really feeling into, let's say, the healing the wounds of the 3rd house from the joyful Jupiter engagement in the 5th house. And you may have had some child wounds, like with your children, that are also healing, maybe connected to proximity to a child, or things to do with a child that can also be engaged in the healing process for you. And finally, Venus is really engaged, right? She's flowing from the house of marriage and legal contracts. So me, for example, she owns a house of book publishing. I get a book deal. Yay, me. What about you guys? Well, you could be healing a romantic sexual wound because of neighbor's neighborhood or travel problems or community problems, where you meet the one you're supposed to be with. Jupiter sextiles Venus energetically here. And this chironic wound may turn around by the time December 29th occurs and we move into the future and look a whole lot like a very beautiful new love story emerging as you heal a wound around that. But ultimately, the core of the wound is third house, right? So other relationships didn't work because you had long distance travel problems. You can heal the long distance travel wound, short distance travel wound, I should say. Or you couldn't really meet in the neighborhood because, there was a fence across the way, borders or something. And the moon is conjunct Chiron at the time. So what is it about Chiron that says, is there a nurturance needed to do with mother stories? And where has your mother story and your mother wounds maybe impeded the third house excitement? Where have you felt, if you could trace it back to your mother's family or your own relationship to your mom, you might find some depth of understanding there. I feel lastly that basically with Jupiter in the fifth house, there's like you're fertile, you're pregnant with possibility. And so it's almost like if you want to think of the fifth house as like the generative womb, the creative womb, both the divine womb and your own internal like muse inspired creativity. So if I go with it, it's creativity that you wish to communicate, whether you're writing it, you're blogging it, you're teaching it, you're marketing and selling it. It's about engaging that deep wellspring of your own creativity, the nature of fire, the nature of the wands. You want to come back to that energy. Don't forget, we had a Sabian symbol for a cornucopia. So abundance, thrival, and beauty and joy. Hey, Pisces, sun, moon, and rising, not any old retrograde. Check out the Chiron Key to Purpose. Heal Now is the code. It's in my description box below. Free course giveaway for you. July the 26th to December 29th, we see the retrogradation of Chiron from 23 degrees to 19 degrees of Aries. But it's not just about that, of course, because you've been in a money wound since 2018 April, got really solid in 2019. And some of you have been feeling your financial resources and financial wellness, possessions, maybe facial appearance, and things that you eat or ingest or smoke or drink have been causing difficulties. You've been wounded. And it didn't have to be the whole time, but sometime in there, that's been a prominent feeling for you. And this is a turnaround story because this is off of that eclipse on April the 8th, engaging Chiron conjunction. The portal for healing is opened. The doorway is here. You just have to walk through it. Because Jupiter is flowing to the Chironic story, especially between Jupiter retrograde, between October the 10th and November the 6th in an ongoing sextile to Chiron, what's going on to do with your childhood, to do with your family of origin, with Chiron conjunct the moon, your mother's stories at the time of the station retrograde. Mother wounds from childhood and mother's lineage stories can be undone, cut away from, pared down, eliminated, so you can thrive in your home, land, property, and real estate and financial resource matters. Jupiter here would like you to be joyful and bounteous in the home, have a bigger home, to have a better home, to have an expansive home, a growth home, to have a home which feels plentiful. And in that regard, whether it's your apartment or your home or your tent or your caravan, that's what Jupiter asks for. And Chiron says, let's heal the financial wellness resources. Maslow's hierarchy of needs, food, shelter, and water belong to the sixth house. Those wounds are coming into a turnaround story. With Venus in the sixth house, if you have had debt, credit card debt, mortgage debt that has been bothering you, or other people are indebted to you, debt repayments and debt healings can occur. But also, Venus represents the house of work and work opportunities, and it looks like there's a healing because money can come through work and work opportunities as well. Maybe during the retrograde of July 26th to December 29th, or maybe when Chiron stations direct and can give you all the goodies from forward momentum after the 29th of December into 2025. Venus here can indicate pets can be very beautiful and healing, as well as rental property situations. Whether you're the landlord or the leasee, you can also benefit from the rental situations available to you by renting a property out to tenants or becoming a tenant and having a beautiful, expansive change of home and property. Mars means change of home. And the financial wound is healing, and it also is the childhood wounds as well, as Mars cuts the roots of what is no longer necessary. Especially like what learning teachings as a child did you take on from the mother or her side of the family, right? That don't serve you. I have a client who is very close to her mother, and she's never really broken free of the apron strings to be successful on her own financially. That could literally be that kind of turnaround example for you. And Venus in the sixth house can be also a narrative where if you've had an illness or a challenge with your health from things to do with foods you have eaten or substances you put in your mouth, that can also turn around and that illness can be alleviated, that sickness can leave. You may not think the sickness comes from what you're ingesting, but the sky says that's what it is. So health challenges that want to shift, look to dietary food styles being offered to you, changes that you'll become very aware of. Maybe during the retrograde, but maybe during the turnaround of December 29th into the new year. So I see better home, health situations, and financial situations trying to emerge from the chironic healing of the second house, because ultimately, deeper under the second house is what do you value? What are your values? What are your possessions? What is your self-possession? Possess a house, dispossess a house. All right. Thanks for listening, Pisces. All guys, everybody, I'm going to give you an interview with my sister, Nancy Lynn of healingwithnancylynn.com, my biological sister, who is a Reiki healer of great renown. And she's amazing. And she works at a distance, and she's amazing. But on top of that, she's going to share with me Spooky2 and how this machine turned around an intractable blood work problem that she has been trying to heal for over 5 years, and how I experienced it as well using this protocol where she stuck a piece of my DNA / a fingernail toenail into the machine. And I spent how many days underneath this machine's influence? 12 days. And what I experienced, because I'm telling you, real things were happening from frequency medicine instead of tangible medicine. And so if you're interested, you get a discount of 6% off on this machine, Spooky2. It's a Rife machine. And I'm not getting any paid promotion. I'm not getting money for this. I'm just sharing something that I'm excited about with you. Yes, they gave me the device to try out, which my sister now has, but I'm not getting paid, because if you buy it, I get nothing. It's just literally one of those things that I think we all need healing one way or the other. Chiron's a planet of healing, mentoring, guiding. And so why not tie it into this theme today? So hopefully you enjoy that. I just did the interview with my sister a week ago when I was living with her. So we're together on the same screen, not on Zoom. Watch the interview. I think it's 7 or 8 minutes. It's not long, but you might enjoy it. And check out Nancy Lynn, healingwithnancylynn.com. I didn't get a code for you guys, but I'll give you a code. It's in the description box. For listening to this, she'll probably give you guys a discount code of 10% off of distance healing. She's so affordable anyway. She really doesn't charge a lot. She's retired, but probably some kind of code with a 10% off will be in my description box if you want to have a Reiki distance healing with my sister, Nancy Lynn Lothian. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you. I hope this information has been useful, helpful, and helps you navigate your life, time your best life, move ahead in a flowing way. I will now iMovie the two pieces together, which I hate doing. I'm so bad at it. Thanks for listening. Mwah. Next video coming out on Sunday will be the moon video for the Leo new moon of August the 4th. It's a big one. It's important because it's a new moon in the sign of Leo, which is about leadership and world rulers. We're going through a lot with the DNC convention coming up in August, and it will tie into that. But in your own life, it's a new beginning, a fresh start in the Leo zone of your sky. Big hugs, everybody. Hey, I'm here with my sister, Nancy Lynn Lothian, and she is a Reiki healer, a retired medical practitioner from hospital work. And she's going to talk to me about, and you guys, about her amazing experience personally with what's called a Spooky2 machine or a Rife machine that she's been testing. And also, you guys get a discount code for it, a 5% off if you want to give this a try in your own life. It works for you and it works for people you want to help, even at a distance. And all you need is a piece of hair or the toenail to put it into this machine and help with health problems, recovery, and also detox and many other things. So Nancy, you've been trying out the Spooky2. Nancy's a Reiki healer with Reiki on her sun in her house of earnings. If you want a good Reiki healing, okay, healingwithnancylynn.com. I'll put a link to her platform on my description box. Tell us about what happened when you used it.
Well, for myself personally, I live a pretty clean lifestyle, but I've always had an issue with my blood work, and it was always like low white blood cells and low lymphocytes. So I've been working on that for years, and I can never get any help, with allopathic medicine. And I'm no stranger to natural medicine. So I tried the Spooky2, not expecting any miracles, but after doing the terrain protocol, which is just a general detox program, and then I ran a few things like lymph and detox. For the first time in over 10 years, I came back with a normal white blood cell count. And I haven't had that in over 10 years. I haven't done anything really specifically different. So I really think that it was the Spooky2 that helped me do that. And, I'm excited to find out how much more I can improve with that. So that was a huge thing for me.
And for people who may not understand, white blood cell counts when they're low can be dangerous for the body because
it's your whole immune system.
Okay.
It's like the common viruses and anything. So your immune system is what keeps you going on this planet.
Okay.
Basically.
So she fixed a really bad problem, like a cracked engine block.
That nobody can help me with. So this was the first time I've actually, saw some improvement, and I was very happy about that.
Yeah, and I'm so happy that happened because they sent the device to me and I didn't even know how to set it up. I didn't have the right kind of computer. I have a Mac, you need a non-Mac. So I sent it to Nancy instead, and she's now rifing up in the Spooky2 land, getting more generators on her system in order to help more people. So I tried it too, guys. I'm visiting her in my hometown where I grew up with my sister here, and I didn't have to be physically present, but I did have to give her a piece of hair or a clipping of a nail, which I did. And I did the 11-day terrain protocol, which is kind of a detox, and it does like lymphatic and liver and energetically begins to shift those things, and parasites and intestinal. And I notice a big difference. I didn't notice a big difference in me because I'm just finished it. Well, I probably will over the next few weeks or months. But what I did notice during the protocol, where like days in which I had headaches, or I peed like crazy a few days, or I had pings in my body in the area that was being worked on, like the liver or the bladder or the whatever. So it does have a correspondence to an actual feeling of detoxing, which I've done many times before, where I've gone on my own protocols of like a juice cleanse or just a water fast. And my body was responding as if I was on a juice cleanse or a water fast or something like that. So I thought that was eerie and spooky. So I'll let you know how I feel at the end of that. There is a protocol for addictions and also my thyroid. Addictions meaning I love my wine. So I'll be trying those as well. And Nancy, what else do you think this is good for, and how are you going to be using it besides for yourself?
Well, their library is vast. The things that you can find in there are amazing. You can just do it for people like insomnia. Lots of people use it for injuries, knee pain, elbow pain, arthritis, even the more serious complications of cancer or even Lyme or Morgellons. So
didn't you have a woman you knew who it really turned around a deep Lyme disease problem?
Absolutely. She used the Spooky2 terrain. She did it to 7 times in a row because it's an 11-day program. She did that for 7 times in a row, so 77 days, and had significant improvement in her Lyme disease.
In the blood metrics or tests, or just how she felt about her body?
Everything.
Wow, that's really cool.
No, it is amazing.
So this is energy medicine. If you guys ever read the book The Field by Lynn McTaggart, she talks about how just holding a piece of paper that has the homeopathic remedy, a name on it, and instead of taking it, this as if you it's if the body knows you want to take it. There's a proxy, right? We are in a kind of a quantum realm sometimes when we want to use energy healing, and we can heal it like as if we took the real medicine. And so this is an energy medicine, which is a little bit less complicated because you're likely not to have a side effect from, say, a physical medicine that you would ingest. I'm looking forward to trying more for me using the protocol with her. And I've had many healings with Nancy. Nancy, look how great she looks. Nancy is 60 something years old. And I am too. And look how well she's doing with her wellness. Yeah. So long story short, to me, it's kind of like, if you could do it simple, I was a journalist, keep it simple, stupid. I could go to the doctor, get like 500 prescriptions, or I could try this and I can try this. I wouldn't say anyone go off your medication to do this instead. It would be an adjunct to that, wouldn't you say?
I agree totally.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm not stopping my thyroid medication, but I will try the thyroid protocol with Nancy's machine. I should put one of my nails or hair pieces there. And then maybe my doctor will say, oh my God, your thyroid medication's too strong. You're like, your numbers are too high. So I will probably test it that way. And I'll get back to you guys and let you know how it works. So we're moving into an era, I think, where frequency, people are meditating, people are spiritually awakening, people are recognizing this is a dream or a matrix. So you can change the reality a lot of ways, including energy, medicine. And what is this called? This is called a Rife machine.
A Rife machine.
Okay. Yes. And what does Rife mean? I don't know. You?
It's a certain frequency. Everything in the body and every certain condition and disease has a certain frequency. And so this machine targets those frequencies.
Okay. So we're working on frequency energy healing device, right? And it's really, I mean, to me, I'm not very techie when it comes to stuff like this, but she grabbed it. This is the nurse in her. She grabs it, she figures it out and like, this is easy. And I'm like, oh my God. So you want to have
not complicated at all. People get overwhelmed with the Spooky2, but it's so easy to learn, honestly. And the Spooky2 support is excellent. They have numerous videos. It's like walks you step by step through it. It's not complicated. It's just like anything you have to learn. So yeah, it's totally doable.
So it's like learning Microsoft Word for the first time. So you have it's a software program, and it's got energy generating devices attached to your non-Mac computer.
Yeah, I would not want anybody to feel they were overwhelmed. It's so easy to learn, and they're also helpful at Spooky2.
Wonderful. So guys, you have a code down below to get this at, I think it's a 5% discount. And so we're tying it into Chiron and Chiron Retrograde. And also if you think you're a healer, look at your asteroids, like the asteroid Reiki, for example, or Panacea or Hygeia. Take the amazing asteroids course that I taught for free. It's underneath all of my videos, because I cannot believe that I found the asteroid Reiki, like in her house of earnings on her, son or something like that. And like, it's exactly what she does. She's always been a healer in our family, but then she learned the tool of Reiki as well, and does amazing jobs with her clients at a distance. She's a distance Reiki healer. So I'll put her website down below as well. Sound good, Nance?
Sounds great.
Thanks, everybody. So healingwithnancylynn.com, and check out the promotion code down below, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.
Peace out.
Now I've got to exit our stage left.